Hello and welcome back. I'm Joe, and this is the absolute beginner's guide for workers and resources of the Republic. Today we're going to concentrate on water and sewage, everything you need to know about it, a couple tips and tricks, a couple starter guides, all the things that you need to know to get this thing done right. So far, we've done everything through auto-purchasing stuff here and letting sewage go to the lakes. The sewage is not going to be much different, but the water we can do a lot better and a lot cheaper too. If you currently are using technical services to transport your water to substations instead of having a water tower somewhere, then you are using unpressurized water. Unpressurized water has an advantage of your citizens need less of it, which I guess is a good thing because that means you can actually keep up with your trucks, but usually around 2,000, 2,500 citizens, the trucks are no longer capable of doing all those things. So just be aware of that. If you turn on pressurized water, you will consume a lot more water than what you've been using with technical services. But that's just a small, tiny little step. Let's go build a couple things because everything we need is right down here under networks and plumbing. The first thing that we're going to build is a water treatment plant. We can get a small one or a big one. I can tell you that the big one, even though it costs about 4 times the amount as the small one, can handle about 12,000 citizens and some industries, the industries that come with them. I like to build these, but you can totally start with the small one if you wanna play around with it a little bit. But I'm going to start with this one. I will turn off auto purchase resources because reasons, and I will turn off the build from resources so we can just see and plan, make sure that everything is fine when we get things started. So I'm going to put it up here just because I'm actually in range of the bus station down here. I'm in range of a lot of the citizens, and water treatment plant does not produce any pollution. It's completely pollution free, which is exactly what we want. But I do want the out pipes or the out pumps, the out pointing connections to connect to point towards the city, and just press T. T is for flipping in the Soviet Republic, because that makes sense. So put that right here. You do want to be connected to the sewage. It will tell you that it doesn't have water to begin with, but it's silly because it will get water relatively soon after it turns on. So this is a relatively good spot. We have the power connections. You don't need heating connections or anything else because it is an industry, but again, it does not produce pollution. So we're going to plop that one right down here. There are more things that we need, obviously. We need a way to connect this to our water sources. Luckily, we already have these water towers set up for our water sources from before, so all we have to do is get water to them. However, resist this. I hear this complaint a lot from people or questions. It's like, oh, there's a connection here, and I can just pull it all the way over here. You can, it will let you connect it, but it's not going to work. Why? Water has 2 ways of being transported through the pipes. One is gravity, and one is power. Okay? Or an engine, if you want. If we do this, and if we look at our height differences, here we have 9.8 meters, and here we have 6.5 meters. It goes 3 meters down, and then the tower, and that nobody tells you that anywhere, but the tower itself, the large tower, counts as a height of about 45 meters. That's where the water is stored at, so it may be right here, I don't know. And the small tower that we have over here counts as a height of 30 meters. It's just shorter. It's not to scale, don't worry about that, but that's about the height differences that both of these account for. So how are you going to get water from 10 meters up to 45 meters above 10 meters, so 55 meters? You need something. You need gravity. What you could do is put your treatment plant on top of a mountain somewhere and let it flow down, but that's unrealistic. So in general, I highly recommend using pumping stations. There are 2 in the game, and they are a little confusing. The big one has 3 ins and 3 outs. What do you do with those? Connect 3 pipes to it, right? No, you don't. Even though they have 3 connections, they have very limited output. The big one can handle about 150 cubic meters of water. Plus minus, depends if it's flat ground, if it's gravity assisted, or any of those things. But look at the pipes. We have 26 cubic meters, 56 cubic meters, and 127 cubic meters. The 127 is very close to 150, so you cannot connect 3 large pipes. You can connect 3 medium pipes if you want to, probably, that's going to be fine. And you definitely can connect 3 small pipes, but in general, 1 big pipe per large pumping station, even though there are 3 connections. The small one, and if you want to look at the max wattage, 250 kilowatts versus 650 kilowatts, that's not exact math, but it can do about a third. It can do about 50 cubic meters is what the small pumping station can do. Okay, now that you know that, let's get our connections. We're going to get the large pumping station somewhere over here. I'm going to turn my underground on again just to see it. It really doesn't require a lot of space, but it does need power. So we're going to connect that right here. And then we get our large pipe connected to that. However you want to do that is totally fine. Again, I'm just going to do 1-to-1. You can be clever later on, and this is not going to work because we're not there. For all infrastructure, you can still use Q underground to make it go lower, but it will cost more. It will cost a little bit more gravel, concrete, and boards, but no steel, and more workdays too. Steel and workdays are the expensive ones when you play realistic, so keep an eye on that, but it's totally worth it to just make this work. So that is our connection to get water up into this tower. Great. What else do we need? We need a way to get water into the water treatment plant, and there are some options again. We have these three. F3 to turn the underground mode off. We have the small water well, we have a big water well, and we have a surface water outflow. What is the difference? The surface water outflow is literally just siphoning off water from water somewhere, and let's put this here. It's relatively small, so you can place it anywhere, but water quality is 77% when it comes out, which you can't get it much higher than that. And we are also next to a sewer over here, but I don't think the range is actually reaching this side up here. So 77%. Is that good? No, you need 97% water quality to be considered drinking water so that these people are happy. And also, for example, the food factory requires 97% to work with, at least. That's what you want to get to. So 77% is pretty far away from that, especially if you consider that your other options, which are a small water well, 94% or 95% is the max that this one can get. Same with the big water well. Both of them can get up to 95%. So you just need a tiny amount of chemicals to treat your water to make it drinkable, which sounds like a pretty good deal, right? Right. Cool. So you can use a water outflow, but I only would use this for certain industries if you want to. But that's fine. I think a water outflow also does not require power, which is kind of nice addition. But there you go. Let's look at the other wells, which is my usual choice. They will take on pollution. In this case, we have some buildings sitting there. We're going down to 89%, but this is the city. If you place it closer to industries, you're going to get a lot lower because pollution is a lot more spread out there. So you can get your quality reduced by that. So make sure that when you place these, don't place them next to high polluting industries like a heating plant, bad place. Power plant, bad place. Food place or clothing factory, also bad place. Just keep it far enough away. Just be aware that even fields cause a little bit of pollution for your water wells. It's a little weird, but it is what it is. It does need power. And here's the biggest difference. The small water well does not require workers, and the big water well does require workers. Okay? Which means the small one just needs power, and then it will just work. The big one will not work without workers, so you have to have a way to get workers actually out here. Maybe that's not a problem for you, but that's fine. The other difference is that this one produces 215 cubic meters of water per day, and the small water well only does 70. So depends how much water you need, you just do that, but you can just place a bunch of small water wells next to each other, and they will produce just fine. We're just going to start with this one, 94% here, and if you wanted to, you can get another 94% right next to it. And most often I do this, just because it makes my life a little easier. Let's get a quick footpath connection before I forget that. Very good. Let's get a quick road connection to these guys because they can catch on fire, and we don't want that. So that one can go down here. This one can just connect into there. Very nice. And now we just need to connect them to the treatment plant. If you want, you are free to put a reservoir. And here's an underground reservoir. Like I said before, the other two towers, this one is 30 meters, 45 meters. This is below ground, I think like 10 or 15 meters. And you can see that, if you zoom in a little bit, that this thing is actually running underneath the ground. So it's just a little different because this one does not feed anything with gravity. So you could put a reservoir here that you just have it available, and you don't even need a pump to run it in there just because it is so far underground. But I would not, you don't need it. You don't need it. Sometimes I like to put it there, but honestly, you generally produce more than enough water to just get through here. Again, resist this urge, very important. You don't want to connect it directly because without an engine or gravity, you're not going to move water. So let's get our large pumping station in here. We're just going to put it there. T to flip, RR to rotate, and there we go. And then we're going to get our first pipe in. I don't know if you remember, but the small water well that we have over there can only produce 70 cubic meters of water, which the large pipe can move about 130. So here's a little thing. You can just connect two of these together into a large pump, and then you have a theoretical maximum of whatever the pipe can carry, which is 130 cubic meters, which is a lot better than just 70 over here. So having this set up should be fine, and then this pipe is your limiting factor. If you need more, you just connect another pipe if you want to. Cool. Pretty good to go. There's one more thing that I want to make sure that we have taken care of, which is another pump right on this side, because we need to get water to our industries that we have out here as well. A big recommendation is always use a water switch. You never know where you need to add more water connections, and I could have added one. I will probably add one down here with this water connection too, just because it's really easy to run out of water connections when you really need one, and often you don't need more than a couple cubic meters of water. So having an extra connection there is super duper helpful. Now be aware that your in pipe is your limiting factor. So these three connections can move at maximum 130 cubic meters of water. So if you connect three large pipes here, they may at some point not have enough not have enough water coming in to actually do something. Just be aware of that. It's relatively easy to remember. Just every once in a while you forget about it. So get that one connected. Everyone's happy there. Everyone is happy here. This one can now run to our switch that we have sitting there, and this switch can run into one of our towers. This one is connected to more, so I'm just going to use that. Cool. All of that is good to go. A switch does not need power. Cool. From last time, we already had the tower set up, and I talked about that briefly. About the tower is at 45 meters high, and that gravity is enough to actually feed the substations. As you can see, the substations are doing just fine. They're moving. This one's moving 7 cubic meters of water a day. This one is moving almost 11. But we don't have to do anything, and everyone is happy. There's a switch sitting right here, but there's no pump in between all of this, because a water tower stores the energy that it takes to move water up the tower in form of gravity, right? That's just how stuff works. So when it releases the water, there's enough pressure going through the pipe to not require a pump or anything like it. So this is all set up. What we can do now is get rid of our purchasing of water, because that's the whole point here. It's a little cheaper to do it this way than to do it the other way. So we're just going to tell them we're good, tell these guys we're good, tell you're we good, and click the clear all. Don't click this one, because that's empties the whole storage and then you wasted a bunch of money. And now we're in a pretty good place. Let's make this all get built. We're just going to use this. Use whatever resource or whatever your money you have available. Totally fine. Just get them all happy. Build that, build this, and build that piece. And now, run it again. And then we're going to look at a few things just to get started. Okay, so everything is built, and you may see that our pump is already on. It currently doesn't have drinking water. Ignore that. It's kind of a... Yeah, it's there, but it's not, because once this one actually starts producing something, it will have drinking water. And if you don't have drinking water, your industry production is reduced by 50%. So it's going to produce the drinking water that it needs. It does need a sewage connection, though. Otherwise, where are your employees going to go poop? But right now it's complaining about no chemicals. No problem. We'll just click here, because we still can tell them, hey, just add some chemicals to let this run. And this is what it looks now. Our water processing. We're currently processing, that's a random number, and here's just rounding errors because programming, but on average you can imagine that this one will, it's going a little bananas right now because we had a little water stored, but 130 150 is usually what we're going to get into there, which it tells you is 42% of the maximum flow of processed water, which is 300 cubic meters. This gets a little confusing. I encourage you not to do the math on this, because it will just confuse you. But why do you think the water treatment plant has 4 inputs and only 3 outputs? There's one here, here, and here. I already have built on top of it, but there are 4 inputs. Because the outflow is 300 cubic meters. which means if you have really polluted water, let's take a crazy example. If you have 50% polluted water, then you need 600 cubic meters to input to output 300 cubic meters. But then there's another limiter, which is 30 cubic meters of waste out of that, which is a lot more. So this one will be 10% of 330 cubic meters of water is what this actually can run. So the higher pollution you have, the less output you're going to get, and the more chemicals you're going to use. Really encourage you not to do the math on this. Just trust me. Connect large pipes to the outs here and just assume that you will never go past 300 cubic meters. Probably 200 to 300 is what you can expect. If you don't know how much your current flow is, how about you go down here, look at your building properties, water pressure, let the game run for a second, and then you see something like this. We have some yellow, we have green, we have red. Okay, why is it red? Very simple. Red is high pressure. It's the highest pressure pipe that you can get into. And what does that mean? Well, if you look at this pumping station, you can actually see a couple things. Output 3 is almost at max bar. Like max bar looks like it's 6, but we're at 5.3. And this pipe is actually pumping 127 cubic meters, like I was telling before. This is what we see here. So those numbers match up. These two are also pumping at max pressure, but there's not enough volume available. Well, right now there's enough volume available. How nice. But they're producing 70 cubic meters a day, so they're pumping in all they can. Then we have this one, this pipe. It is not currently moving as much water as it can. 127 cubic meters moving something else. Let's look how much pressure we have. It has the max pressure out, but on the in we also have some pressure. Sometimes it's delayed. But if you look at this, we're only moving 9 cubic meters of water when our max is 127. So sometimes the pipes will look a little funky when you look at them. Over here we have the same thing, and again you can just look at these pressure gauges to see what you want to see. But if I let the game play a little bit, the actual pipes after a little while are just going to start blinking a little bit, because at some point your towers are just going to be full, like there. This one just changed from red to green, so our flow is nothing. We're good now. There's no pressure in the pipe. And that probably translates to this one is not really needing any more. We're not producing more than we need. Again, it's more an overview. Red is actually good because it means you're producing high pressure, which is what you want. Green means low pressure, but that's also fine, as long as you have the capacity that you need. And capacity is more important because you can look at that here. We have 15 cubic meters leaving here. Currently, there's 16 cubic meters sitting at this switch. And we need 10 there and 6 here. As long as this pipe does not need to or try to move 123 cubic meters, we should be totally fine, because that means you have under-delivered water, which is the bad thing. So you can see this pipe is still moving 123 cubic meters into the tower, which we don't see anywhere, but this one is filling up really fast. And there you go. Because of this a game, packets or cargo moves from one place to another place. It's not instantaneous. It goes from one building to another and then goes to the next building. So you see the numbers spike a little bit. Don't worry about that too much. But that is water. That's all you have to know about water. When in doubt, at a pump or at a tower that can store some gravity with your water in form of energy. Same words, different order. But that's all you need to worry about. Cool. So they are all connected and have everything that they need. And if you need to increase the water that you can process here, you just add another set of 2 of these water wells and you should be good to go. Sewage is a much shorter topic, I promise. We are already set up with everything that we need. We have a couple sewage tanks, and you find them over here on the sewage tanks. You can pick up sewage with trucks if you want in technical service offices, but then you have to drop them off somewhere. You can either drop them off with the sewage loading and unloading station like this, and then connect this to ideally an outflow somewhere, or you drop them off at the customs house and pay for them. But sewage is really not a thing that you want to pay for, because you're just going to overload your customs house. So I highly recommend that when you start with sewage, really early on, just build an actual sewage network. And there's not that much to it. You have pipes. They have a little higher capacity as the water pipes, and that just means You get clear water, and then someone goes to the toilet and they add a little bit to the clear water, so now there's more volume. So your sewage pipes have to be just a little bigger. Sewage pipes don't have pumps for moving water. They only have pumps for changing elevation, 5 meters, 10 meters, 15 meters. You can use Q and E to also switch them around if you want to, but they require a proper slope. Proper slope is simply, they cannot go up. They can only go down. That's all you need to know. Let's see if I don't think we can actually manage one right now, but there. Requires proper slope. So you just have to make sure that you always go down. And for that, you just have to use this fancy tool a lot when you see this. So there's 6 meters here. There are 6 meters here. So if it's flat, it's probably not going to move, but you can just use the sewage pumps to move them around. There are sewage switches. These are just to combine your sewage. Very simple. The sewage discharge, we placed that in the first episode, just goes here. Every once in a while, if you want to place them, you will have trouble placing them because the vanilla lakes and waterways are rounded, and this needs a slightly straight piece of ground, and that's fine. There are sewage treatment plants, large and small. Highly recommend you don't build these. Why? Because if you look at them, they import wastewater and then they export wastewater after they apply a little bit of chemicals to it. This is only helpful if you have a city that's really close to a lake that's your only sewage discharge location, and that gets some pollution to your city. If you apply a sewage treatment plant, you do reduce pollution a lot, but the range of pollution is so small that I would say don't worry about it. Highly recommend not building it. I never built them, but you can do whatever you want to do. And that's all the buildings for water and sewage that you have to worry about. So I hope that is helpful for someone and you can apply what you need. When you're not sure if some of your buildings are in range, there are these buttons. There's a water connection and a sewage connection for all of your buildings. And it looked like earlier, oh no, nobody lives here. I thought this one doesn't have a connection, but it does have all the connections that they want. And if you need to see how much you have gone through a day, you can either go here and see them individually, or you can go to these overlays and see the full number. Press F3, it gives you a little better contrast between the numbers to see what's going on. But that's all you have to know. That's all sewage and water. Took a little longer to explain than I wanted to, but I hope this clears up everything that you ever wanted to know about water. I will see you again next time, and have a good day, night, afternoon, anything. See you in the next episode. Bye-bye.